Kia ora, good morning everyone, Richard Wong here. Welcome back to the channel. We are out here today because recently the guys from HNY Filter, they have sent me a sample of their K series filter kit, which is this one. So I thought I should come out and take some landscape photo using this filter kit and find out what are the pros and cons when I use this filter kit to take some photo in real world. Unfortunately, the weather is not really good today, and it has been like that recently because right now it is winter here in New Zealand. So every time I want to come out and take some photo, it's either raining or raining very heavily. Today it was sunny earlier today, so I thought, okay, finally I can come out and take some landscape photo, but I drive all the way here and it starts raining again. So I'm going to wait a little while. Hopefully the weather will clear up a little bit. It's probably not going to amazing for landscape photo, but let's see what I can do. The camera I have here with me that I'm going to use to take photo is the Lumix S5, and I have two lenses with me. One is the 26T kit lens and the other one is this 51.8 lens. This is a pre-production sample. The lens has not been announced yet, so I'm going to make sure I don't release this review until after this lens has been announced. So these two are not very expensive lenses, but I found the performance of these two lenses are actually pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to wait a little while. Hopefully the weather is good enough so that I can take some photos, and then we'll go back to my place, have a look at the photos, and then we can talk about this filter kit from HNY a little bit more. So in the end, that trip wasn't really successful as the weather continued to be pretty bad. It was keep raining and raining, but I did manage to take a couple photos in between. The photos are alright, I guess, but I did find a couple of interesting things which I'm going to talk about very soon. Okay, now we are back and let's continue this review. But before we start, a quick disclaimer. HNY, they sent me this filter kit for me to work on this review. In return, they just asked me to create a video which share my hands-on experience and thoughts about their filter kit, and also go and take some photo using their filter kit and share some photos online. That's all they asked for. They didn't say I need to say anything in specific or anything that I shouldn't say. So this review will be just like my other review. I will just share with you my honest opinions and thoughts about this product. I do also have an affiliated link that I put below. So after watching this video, if you are interested in buying this filter kit, you can check out my affiliated link. HNY has been making filter for quite a while, so I think a lot of you guys probably have heard of them before and may have used some of their filter before. But if you have never heard of them before, you may remember there was a product that was launched on Kickstarter last year called the Revo Ring, which was a very innovative filter which you can just snap it on in front of your lens and turn the wheel, and then the filter would just snap onto your lens. So this K series filter holder kit was released before the Revo Ring, and it is quite a different design, but it also has a few very innovative idea behind it. The filter holder is completely made of aircraft grade aluminum, so it feels very solid and very different to some other filter holder that use quite a bit of plastic parts. So there's no plastic on this filter holder. The whole thing feel super solid and also feel quite premium as well. The filter holder comes with 4 different step rings. We have the 67mm, also there's a 72mm, 77mm, and the 82mm. So with these 4 step rings, you should be able to mount this filter holder on most of the lenses in the market that you may want to use for landscape photography. But I'll notice that HNY, they also make some very special step rings or attachment ring for you to mount it on some special lenses. For example, the new Nikon 14-24 f2.8Z lens, they have made a special mounting plate for that special lens. So yeah, if you are shooting with some special lenses, check out their website to see if they have one of the special ring specially made for your lens. To install this filter holder is very easy. Just put the step ring onto your lens, just screw it onto it. Alright, and once you secured it, you just need to put the holder onto there, and there are 2 screws behind the holder, and you just need to tighten it up. And once you tighten it up, you can still turn this a little bit because sometimes you may want to adjust the angle, so you can still do it. And that's pretty much it. And now you have the holder attached it onto your lens. Using the step ring to install the filter holder onto the lens is very easy. But after seeing the Vivo Ring, which is a very innovative way to install filter onto pretty much any size lenses, I do really wish that HNY may one day would like incorporate that Vivo Ring design onto a filter holder system like this one. Then that would be fantastic. But anyway, this HNY K series filter holder also has some very cool design. The first one is, when you using a square filter, the holder has a magnetic mounting system. So unlike the typical filter holder that there are some slots and you have to carefully slide it in, you just need to put it at the front and it will just snap onto the holder. So that is super easy. And also the magnet is pretty strong of the holder at all. But there's also a little screw here at the side for you to lock the filter into the holder if you want to. I personally never really do that because it doesn't really need to do that. But I think if you feel like maybe you are clumsy, that there's a chance that you may suddenly knock it out from the filter holder, you may want to do that. And one thing I really like about this HNY square filter is because there is a magnetic frame that is installed surrounding the filter, which means there is some place for you to grab the filter without leaving the fingerprint on the filter itself, which is something I really don't like when I'm using most other square filter system in the market. I always leave my fingerprint on this filter itself, which is really messy. And also because there's a bit of thickness of the frame, so you could put it onto any flat surface like this and don't have to worry about you may scratch or leave some mark on the filter because it raised the glass slightly above the surface. And also because the frame itself is also magnetic, so that means you can snap a filter onto another filter and you can stack multiple of them if you want to. And because, as I mentioned before, the magnet itself is quite strong, so even if you put multiple of them on top of each other, it should still hold very securely. And when you want to remove the filter, it's also very easy. You just need to pull it out from the front. You don't have to like slide it through the slot. So putting the filter onto the holder and remove it is super easy. And another thing I noticed when I was taking landscape photo outdoor and there was a bit of rain, and I noticed when there's some water drops on the filter itself, because the filter has some special coating on it, so if there is just a few little water drops on it, you can easily just use a little blower and blow onto the surface and the water drop will just quickly disappear from the surface. And the second very cool design about this filter holder is at the back of the holder, there is actually another slot for you to install a drop-in filter. So right now, I don't have the filter installed, so I have like a holder thing there. If I take it out, and now I can put a drop-in filter. So I have a CPL filter here, and I can just drop it onto the holder. So now I have a CPL filter inside this holder, and this CPL filter also has a little dial wheel at the side here so that I can use it to turn the CPL filter. So that's a very easy way for you to have a filter holder while you also can use a CPL filter and adjust the angle very easily. The only thing that I don't really like is when I adjust the angle, there's a bit of metal grinding noise that come out from this CPL filter, because pretty much everything is made of metal, so there's a bit of metal grinding noise. So it's not a really loud noise. Like if you're shooting photos outdoor, you probably wouldn't even hear it, and it definitely doesn't cause any real issue, but it's one of those little things that I hope HNY can improve a little bit. So you may wonder why there is a drop-in filter slot at the back of the holder. The reason is to give the user more flexibility. For example, most people shooting landscape photo may want to use a CPL filter. They will want to use it to enhance the sky's blue color or get rid of or enhance the reflection on the water surface. So you may just always have the CPL filter anyway. So if that's the case, then you just have one at the back here, and then you can apply your additional filter using the square filter in front, and you can also stack multiple of them. So that's one way why you want to use this drop-in filter slot. And the other way to use it is, for example, if you're using a GND grad natural density filter like this one, then you would want to put it in the front and you want to adjust it, position it carefully. That's one of the reasons why you want to use a square filter system like this one, because you can use the GND filter and you adjust it carefully. And if you also want to put a ND filter, for example ND 1000 filter in it, the problem with the ND 1000 filter or anything darker than that is once you put it in front of the lens, then you can't really see anything at all. You can't see the framing, you can't see the focus. So what you can do is then you just put the GND filter at the front first, adjust it, and then once you have all the settings, all the focus, framing, everything is done perfectly, then you can drop in a ND 1000 or even darker filter to the back, and then you can take the photo. That means you wouldn't have the risk of touching or moving the GND filter. And once you finish it, you can then remove the ND filter and then readjust the framing or anything, and then once you got everything set up, and then drop it in again. So that's another way how you can take advantage of this dual square filter and the drop-in filter design of this K-series filter kit. Of course, some of you guys would probably have more creative way how you can take advantage of this dual filter design. So share with me your creative idea below, because I would definitely love to learn some new tricks from you guys. For me to find out whether this filter kit is actually good or not, I did a couple of tests. The first test I did is to check whether this filter would cause any color shift, because especially like the 10-stop ND filter, the ND 1000, usually it may cause quite a bit of color shift. But surprisingly, when I was taking landscape photos outdoor, one of the first things I noticed is the 10-stop ND filter actually doesn't cause any really noticeable color shift. So this is the first photo I shot without using any filter, and then this photo was shot with the HNY 10-stop ND filter. if you put them side by side, you may notice the color is very similar. There is minimal amount of color shift. So what I did next is I bring out my BMW 10 stop ND filter and swap the HNY filter with my BMW filter, and I took another photo, and this is the photo I got, and you can immediately see there is some really strong color shift compared to the previous two photos. And all these three photos were shot like within at most 5 minutes, and using the identical white balance, and the lighting there didn't really change much because it was a really cloudy day. So you can see quite a big difference in terms of the color when I use the BMW filter, while with the HNY filter there is almost no color shift at all. But then I took these photos outdoors, so the lighting was not really controlled, and also because the shutter speed was quite different, so I couldn't really see the water, when I try to compare the water between the shot that I took with the filter and without the filter. I can't really compare it like very precisely. So after I got home, so I want to take another set of more controlled photo to see whether there is any color shift or not. So this time I just took this photo in my room and with my color chart, and I used my aperture 120D to light up the scene. So it's completely controlled, the lighting doesn't change at all. So this is the first photo I shot without any filter, and I've calibrated the white balance as well. And then I put the HNY 10 stop filter in front, and this is the photo I got. And then I added the CPL filter to the drop-in filter slot and took another photo. And after that, I just completely removed the HNY filter holder, and I put my BMW 10 stop ND filter in front of the lens, and this is the last photo I shot. Now these are the 4 photos that I shot. I put them side by side. I think you can easily see the photo shot with the BMW filter has a pretty strong pink color cast, while the other 3 photos are very close. So I bring these photos into Lightroom and then use the color picker to check the white color. So the one that with no filter, the difference between the RGB value is within 0.5%. That means the white balance is very accurate, as it should be, because I calibrate the white balance using this setup. And then look at the photo with the HNY 10 stop ND filter. The difference in the RGB value is still very good. It's less than 1%, so it's not really that far away from the photo that has no filter installed. And now let's have a look at the photo shot with the BMW 10 stop ND filter. There is a much bigger difference between the RGB value, and it's around 6%, which is much higher than the percentage from the previous 2 photos. And now let's look at the photo that I have 2 HNY filter applied, the 10 stop ND filter and the CPL filter. And if I measure the RGB value, the difference is quite a bit more than previously just using the 10 stop ND filter, because it gets up to around 3%. So there is slightly stronger color shift, but I feel it is still within an acceptable level. Consider we are now stacking 2 filters in front of the lens, and it is still half of what I got from just the BMW 10 stop filter alone. So I think these HNY filters are definitely very good in terms of the color shift control. The second test I did is to test the lens flare, because every time you add a piece of glass in front of your lens, you have a chance of introducing lens flare or introducing more lens flare to your photo. So I shot some photo on a bright sunny day, and just to see if this HNY filter introduce any additional lens flare, or if it does, how much lens flare that it would introduce. So this is the first photo I shot without any filter. The lens I use is the new Panasonic Lumix 51.8 lens, so it's a very good lens. As you can see in this photo, there is not much lens flare from the lens itself. So next I put the HNY Graduate ND filter in front of the lens. Looking at the photo, I don't really see any lens flare that is introduced by this GND filter. And then I swapped the GND filter with the HNY 10 stop ND filter. And once again, I don't really see any lens flare that is introduced by the HNY filter. Next, I removed the 10 stop ND filter and I put the HNY CPL drop-in filter into the filter holder. And once again, I don't see any lens flare that is introduced by this HNY filter. After that, I put the GND filter back onto the filter holder. So now I have two filters, and I also don't see any additional lens flare that is introduced by the filter. And then the final test, I just put all the three HNY filter I have all installed onto the filter holder. So that means I have the GND filter, I have the 10 stop ND filter, and also the CPL filter. This time, I do see a tiny bit of ghosting on the bottom right of the frame, but I would say the amount of ghosting is still at a very minimum level. Consider I'm shooting directly into the sun on a bright sunny day. I think the lens flare performance of this HNY filter is definitely excellent. And the last test I did is the light leak test. When you are shooting with a strong ND filter like a 10 stop ND filter, light leak could be a problem, especially some of the filter holder that doesn't have a very good design. Then there's quite a bit of chance that you may have a bit of light leak when you're shooting on a bright sunny day, and then you put a very dark filter in front, then you may have some light leak that comes from the top or the edge of the filter holder. So what I did is I set up my camera in this room again, and I face the camera onto the wall behind me, so it's got a black texture wall, and I have my aperture light that is directly above the camera, and then I point the light directly onto the filter holder, because this filter holder, remember, it has that drop-in slot at the back, so that just gives it another chance for it to introduce some light leak. So I just want to shine some really strong light onto the filter holder, and I have the light running at 100%. And then I shot a photo at ISO 800 60 seconds at f4. So that's a pretty long exposure, and that's probably much longer than what you usually would do when you are taking photo on a bright sunny day. And this is the photo that I got. So there's no light leak at all. Even if I zoom in the photo and look at the edge of the photo, I don't see any sign of light leak. So that is definitely a very good news. Okay, so these are my test results with this HNY K series filter system. There's really nothing that I can really complain. Some small things I've already mentioned in this video, but overall it is a very good filter holder system. I guess the biggest downside of this filter system is it is not cheap at all. The whole setup that I have here with the holder and the CPL filter and the 10 stop filter and also the GND filter would cost you quite a few $100s. So definitely not cheap at all. And if you compare it with the other brands, some of the brands, their filter would be a lot cheaper. But filter is one of those things, just like tripod. If you buy a good one and if you take good care of it, basically it will last forever. It's much better to buy something good and then you can use forever, rather than buy something that is cheap and then you have to replace it, upgrade it after 6 months and upgrade it again after 1 year. So in the end, you may still upgrade back to a good system, but you would actually spend quite a bit more money because you wasted your money on some of the not so good system. So yes, I can understand you may not want to spend so much money on some filters, but consider the price of some good lenses that you may have on your camera and the fact that the filter would probably outlast any of the lenses and camera that you have. I still recommend you guys to save up some money and get some really good filter like this HMY K series filters.